Choosing Recovery. I'm Olivia.
I'm Scotty.
Today we have an incredible story from Crystal, so let's go ahead and jump right into it.
Zoom.
So what was your drug or drugs of choice, and what age did you start using any substance?
I started using at the age of 13. I started drinking and taking whatever pills I could really get my hands on. I was in rehab by the time I was 16 years old. And then I cleaned up for a good 2 years. So by the time I was 18, I was living on my own, and things just started to downward spiral because my mental health was never in check. I tried seeking help, and it just made it worse. By the time I was 19, I was addicted to triple C's, which is cortisone, cold, and cough.
Yep.
I destroyed my relationships. I ended up moving into a trap house, falling in love with the guy who lived there, and he got me started on Adderall. And so we were just slamming Adderall days and days and days on end. I ended up marrying him, and he was very abusive. I escaped that marriage, and I went on to, by the time I was 21, I started drinking heavily. And then I got pregnant. I married her father, and I cleaned up for quite a while. I had a lot of postpartum, a lot of unchecked mental health, and I took good care of my baby. And then I started drinking again. Got pregnant again, had my second child, went unchecked mental health after that, but raised my babies. I was home all day with them. They're two beautiful, bright little girls, very smart. But shortly after that, by the time my baby was 3, I started drinking again. I started to disappear at nights and resurfacing in the morning. And then I slipped back into the Adderall craze. So when you're out at the bars, people are handing those out. By the time my youngest was about 5, I always took care of them. And, no child deserves to have an addict parent. I always made it a point that they were taken care of. So by the time I was slipping into heavy drinking and more Adderall and painkillers and back and forth, my friend led me on this road, we'll say. I ended up disappearing into towns further away. I got wrapped up into sort of a sex trafficking ring.
Wow.
And I was sucked into that. I was basically the main girl. I was to take care of whoever was placed in front of me to get my fix. I was horribly abused during this, but I got severely addicted to methamphetamines.
Yeah.
So I was allowed to return home.
Wow. Wow.
My phone was under surveillance, and I had regular visits that I had to hide from my husband and my children to make sure I stayed in line.
Wow.
It was very traumatic, very horrifying experience, but I ended up escaping that.
Good for you.
And I resumed home life normally. And by the time I escaped that, I'm 6 feet tall, and I was about 140 pounds, and I looked very bad. My parents helped get me through, but it wasn't long after until I found methamphetamines in my own town. I started using heavily again, and I just kind of went off until I had a severe car accident. I had been awake for 3 days. I was with a man who I'd fallen in love with during all this, and I crashed into a tree going 60 miles an hour. The engine shot back. I had just put my seatbelt on too because there was deer on the road. I live out in the middle of nowhere. And I survived. But I'm crippled permanently from it. So every single day I have a reminder of what I went through.
Wow.
That still didn't clean me up. was sent home with a shattered leg, and I forced my husband to move out. I lived here raising my 2 girls alone with no income on a shattered leg. I used my artwork to survive. I used state assistance to survive, and I still found means to use. It created more of a healing delay, so my leg never healed completely. I'm still currently in a walking boot.
Oh, wow.
It's been 2 years.
Wow.
By the time my last usage, I had somebody come over and we were using together, and it was very, very bad product. I ended up having a complete mental breakdown. I was unable to speak for a few days. I couldn't move, and I had to get my children's father to come get the kids. I was a very irresponsible parent. I will admit that now. They didn't deserve that. They were always taken care of. They were never beaten and neglected, but I was a using parent, and that is not something I'm proud of or should be, glorified. Just because I took care of my kids during my addiction doesn't mean I should have been. So after that instance, I was hospitalized for about a week. And when I reemerged, I had an entire new sense of self. And that's when I started my road to recovery.
Wow. That's incredible. And it just goes to show that no matter where you, look at all the obstacles in your life, that you've been through. You lived through that. And as you were speaking, I was just getting cold chills about, with the sex trafficking and the abuse that you escaped. And you should be proud of where you're at today and the way that you speak about your story, because you're real. You're true. You're like, it wasn't an excuse that I was a using parent, but I was, even though they weren't neglected. That's what shows your girls that you can have an issue in life, and where you're at today, you can you can change that, and you can overcome that, and you can move past that. And that's an incredible story to have.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have the experience. A lot of people reach out to me now. I started the videos on TikTok is what's kind of blown me up quite a bit. I ran across it, and it all started with one TikTok. It was a woman was like, "Tell me you're an addict without telling me you're an addict."
Yep.
And I was like, "Oh, I got one. We're gonna do shard searching," and it just took off from there. I've been in all the trap houses. I've looked for the dope. I dealt it. I bought. I barely ever bought it. I've had a lot of dope, but I barely ever bought it.
Yep. I understand that life. Yep. So how long?
I knew how to hustle.
Yeah. And I think that's just as addicting as that hustle lifestyle. Me personally, I was into prostitution. I wasn't forced into sex trafficking or anything like that, but I was a prostitute, and I think that in my recovery, my first year, I was really kind of leaning towards the easy money.
There were large
Yep.
Gaps in between, but I've been using since I was about 13, and I'm 30 years old now.
Yeah, so a long time. Yep.
And so I stopped using at the January 20th, 2019 was the last time I used.
Good for you.
And it was really bad. My mental breakdown really drove me forward. It was like, I need help. And I sought out second opinions. I went to psychologists. I went to psychiatrists. I've seen counselors, but that's another story. None of them can handle me. I'm very strong-willed. I'm very intelligent. I'm very logical. I'm very rational. I'm very smart. I give them the layout of what they need to help me with, and they're just like, well, what do you want to do? I was like, I gave it all to you. Now it's your turn. Don't ask me what I want. I'm going to see right through you. And so they're still struggling right now. They're supposed to be giving me a call back because I fired my last.
Oh my God. You're fired today. Bye-bye.
I told her, I'm like, this ain't working out, sweetie. This isn't.
I think that's why it's just easier to speak to.
Closed questions nonstop.
Yeah.
But I started, once I discovered my power, and once I discovered who I wanted to be and what I was going to be and the road I was going to take to become this person, because there's no going back to who you were. There is now only becoming somebody that you can love and be proud of and do what you want and find happiness in the small things. Find happiness without chemicals. Get your mental health in check. See psychiatrists. Discover medications that work for you. I've gone through a plethora.
Yeah.
I have gone through, and I was like, I call them up, I'm like, this is not working. We need to try something else. Here are my symptoms. Here are my side effects. And they're like, okay, I'm on top of it. You know, I need to take care of me. If I want to be a successful, happy person that's not drowning in the world of addiction, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to take whoever I can with me. I'm going to give them a piece of hope that they can have. My messages, my direct messages in TikTok are flooded right now. And I answer every single one of them.
Awesome.
I let them know, and they're like, thank you, you helped me. I don't know who else to reach out to. Because you can't do it when you're out on the streets. Everybody around you is using. They don't want you to get clean. The people that you're closest to that aren't using, they don't understand. They don't get why we can't just stop.
Yeah.
You know, they don't get it, and they will cut you out, they will shut you down, or they will enable you. You know,
Absolutely.
you need to seek help elsewhere. And I'm a complete stranger to these people, but I've put it out there that, hey, for one, I understand. And number two, I'm here for you. And sometimes that's all you need, is somebody to understand.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, who did your addiction affect?
My immediate family. And mostly my ex-husband. Him and I are best friends now.
Good.
He helped me through like the hardest parts of all of this. And then when we got divorced, I was like, no child support. We're 50-50. I actually let him move back in with me because he lost his place. And I was like, you know, you can have Rena's room, you know, until you can get back on your feet. But it affected him. I traumatized that man the most. I hurt him very, very badly. He loved me so much. And I have so much love for him, but I couldn't be in love with him. I was too erratic. I was too free. I was my own person that I couldn't be tied down. And he was such a good man that I married him because I wanted what was best for my children at the time, which it caused more chaos than good because I was so unhappy being with a man I wasn't in love with that I ran off and I did all this drinking and all this cheating and all this lying and all this disappearing. But now, like, I can call him up right now and just be like, hey, how's your day going? You know, he'll call me up if he's having, because he has severe depression issues and anxiety issues, and he'll call me up. He's like, I just can't take it anymore. And I'm like, it's okay. You know, we are good friends now. And the kids are happy. You know, they've got mommy and daddy. When I'm not at work, I've got my girls, you know.
Love that.
And when after school, if I am at work, they're at daddy's place. They have everything they could ever want and need. But my kids did have to see what addiction did to a person. They did have to see all the stress and anxiety and anguish. At the beginning of the divorce, it was very, very traumatizing to them because we were at each other's throats. I was like, you're not taking my kids away. And he's like, you're a fucking drug addict. You can't have these kids. And he was right. You know, he was right. I did take care of them. I never beat them or neglected them or starved them or nothing. But I was not well. And it reached a point where the worst part of it was when I laid in bed completely catatonic and they ran through the house. I could hear them. You know, they were making themselves breakfast that day, and I had just enough strength to call him. And I was like, I'm so sorry, can you help me? And he did. He came and he picked up the girls, and he got them a babysitter, and he took me to the ER, and they sent me off to go get help.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're very lucky to have somebody that he might not even like understand, like you said, but he still supports you and loves you, and it seems that he loves you unconditionally. And to put your guys' family first, like, I love hearing that, you know. That's amazing. That's great co-parenting.
Absolutely.
It's awesome. So how are you staying clean today?
Today, I remind myself every single day that the life I have now, I have my struggles, I have my depression, I have my issues, but they are better. They are so much better than the issues during addiction. The withdrawal, the searching, the hiding, the lying,
Everything.
the mental breakdowns that you get when you're using. Do they know? Can they tell? Oh my God! What? And then the way you act when you're high. You know, you get that sense of euphoria, but how long does that last? Now you need to go chase that euphoria again. Now you need to come off of it again. And it's like, I like to keep that in my mind. You know, when I'm having a hard time, I don't really crave it, but I remember it. And it brings like the misery I'm in now to a higher level of this is way better than before. I work every single day on myself. I consume positive material. I consume positive music. And I work hard, and I take pride in what I do. I find beauty in the smallest things that I couldn't find it in before. I find happiness in the silliest things that, you know, before it was always, is the dope man coming? Is the dope man coming? Do you have the good stuff, or is it the ditch stuff again? You know, you go outside and you look at the leaves and you're just like, they're so gorgeous.
Yes.
You know, your kids are driving you up a freaking wall,
And you're like,
and it's like, at least they're home.
yeah.
Know where they are. I know what they're doing. They're not in the foster system. They're not taken away from me. They're not somewhere where I'm not going to be able to call them and say, how are you doing, baby? Good night, I love you.
Right.
You know, there's so much beauty in the world that you learn to see once you hit recovery.
Absolutely. So what is your biggest accomplishment within your recovery so far?
My biggest accomplishment, and this one's about just me.
Yeah.
I applied and was accepted into college. I have been doing college courses for 1.5 years now.
Awesome.
And I've been getting straight A's. I work full time. I work 1:30 to 11 almost every single day.
Okay.
Days I have off, I have my children. But I support my entire household with a minimum wage job. I work hard at my job. I come home and I do my schoolwork. And I go to bed by 2 a.m. I'm up the next morning. I take care of my household, and then I go back to work.
Wow.
But as of right now, I've been getting 90% to 100% in all my courses.
That's awesome. What are you studying?
I'm going to be an AODA counselor.
Awesome.
That's
Too cool.
incredible.
Too cool.
Wow. I love that. I love that accomplishment. That's amazing. You're doing very well. Very well.
That's my big goal. That's my big goal.
Yeah.
I'd like to go get my KSAC.
You know? That's awesome. So what was the hardest thing that you faced within your active addiction?
Was keeping up with all of the lies. Because everybody I was surrounded by didn't use, and they knew, if they knew, they were going to stop me from using, and that was not going to be acceptable.
Yep.
I had to go do my thing, and nobody was going to stop me. So it was lie after lie after lie after lie, and then it was the guilt of betraying the people who care about you most. and they love you and they want what's best for you, and they don't know how to handle this. And now you have to disappear, you have to cut them off, and it's just shameful of the people you hurt. It's not just you're destroying, it's not just your mind you're destroying and your soul you're destroying, but you are destroying the ones that love you the most.
It's a lot of wisdom right there, absolutely. And I think that we get that clouded judgment of being enslaved to a drug or a lifestyle that we do tend to forget about other people, but we also forget who we really are, you know. And we just branded our logo, and it says "Finding the True You" is our phrase.
I saw that and I loved it, because
right?
That's exactly what I try to represent.
Yes.
Because in your teens, it's so hard to be a teenager. It really is. I mean, surrounded by all this chaos, you have so much work to do. You're trying to figure out who you are. You know, you're surrounded by peers that are horrible influences on you, because teenagers are a mess. We cannot deny that. Teenagers are a mess, and I have raised several teenagers with my first husband and my second husband. They both had teenage boys. And I'm trying to raise them as a 20-something-year-old woman.
Right.
Like, guys, you can't do this. But it's like, that's a huge developmental part of your life.
Yeah.
And I believe it's so stifled at that young age. It's so stifled, and you can't really determine who you are and who you want to be. I mean, you're constantly hitting roadblocks.
Yeah.
And then by the time you're adult, you're thrown out into this real world.
Yeah.
And how do you deal with that? How do you cope with it? Now you still don't know who you are. And it's so dangerous. It's such a vulnerable time for us. That's why so many of us fall into addiction. We are never taught how to cope with our emotions, how to deal with our feelings, how to progress in negative situations. And that is key to becoming who you are and avoiding this kind of traumatic instance. I was denied that. My parents tried their best with me. They really did. But I was never shown how to deal with myself, how to deal with my emotions, and had my mental health unchecked. I was finally diagnosed at 28, and I was finally given medication that could actually help me.
Good.
You know, once you reach a point where you don't know who you are, and then you destroy what you could have become.
Right.
And now you have to start all over. Now you have to start all over, and it's a beautiful process to me. It really is. When somebody destroys themselves so completely, it's a beautiful thing, because now you get to build who you are.
Yeah.
Or you can stay there.
Right.
And there was no other choice for me. It was die or grow.
Absolutely.
So if you could say anything to somebody that's still out there actively using, what would you say to them?
What would I say to them? I would say to them that you're not alone. You're not alone. It's going to be hard, but addiction wasn't a choice, but the choice is now yours to become who you are.
So
what are you going to choose? Are you going to choose this life of addiction that is just nothing but torment, torture in your life? Even if you're having fun in it, that's not actual fun. That's not something you're going to look back on and go, man, that was a great time.
Right.
You're going to go, wow, that was me. I did that. Choice is now yours. What are you going to do with your life? There is a beautiful world on this other side, and I want you to come join it.
I love that.
Love it.
So if you could say something to a family member of a loved one that's in active addiction, what would you say to the family member?
Don't enable them.
Nice.
My favorite answer.
Yeah.
You love them, you want to help them, you want to save them, but you cannot save them.
Not at all.
They have to save themselves.
Like you said, the choice has to be theirs.
Floor is yours.
Oh, the floor is mine. So much pressure. Basically, if anybody out there is seeing this and it reaches you, and you take any part of this from me, I've built up enough strength, enough light, and enough hope to be able to share it with others. You cannot give pieces and pieces and pieces of yourself away trying to help others and save others. You can't do it because it will tear you down and you will be left with nothing. You need to fill yourself up. You need to be selfish. This is about you now. Fill yourself up. Save yourself. Bring yourself to a point where you can be proud of you. And then help others. As much as you want to help everybody else, you can't do it. And that is okay. You do not have to feel guilt about that. It's okay to be selfish. You were selfish in your addiction. You stole, you lied, you cheated. But that's over now. Now it's time to forgive yourself. Forgive the others who have harmed you. It's not about them anymore. It's about you. Save yourself, and I believe in you, and I am proud of you. And we're gonna make it. I don't want to see addiction take another life. I want to see addiction save another life.
Wow.
We are some of the strongest people I've ever known. We have lived through some horrifying ordeals. We have dealt with traumatic experiences that others can't even fathom. And look at us now. We're alive. We did it. We're going to make it. You survived that. You can survive recovery.
Yeah.
You can survive getting to recovery. And I believe in you. Name is Crystel Mangert. My clean date is January 20th, 2019. And I am grateful for the wisdom, the self-pride, and the ability to know how to grow, continue to grow, and help others in the process. And that my children have a real mother that they can rely on and believe in and be proud of.
Love that.
And the story you share from that's just so inspiring. That is breathtaking. That is just like, whoa, wait a second. Like, that's showing your child that they can do anything. You can overcome anything. You can be anything you want, you know, and I think that is amazing. Yeah. You know, it blows my mind every time. Yeah, so.
And I posted some videos on my TikTok of what I looked like in active addiction while I was in the trafficking ring.
Oh, wow.
And what I look like now and what my children have now. I mean, I've put on 30 pounds and I don't mind.
Yes, you look good. You look good. That's awesome. It feels good, doesn't it?
It feels really good. Like my eyes were sunken in really bad, and my arms were nothing, and my legs were just,